Vice President Osinbajo launches trader money in Jigawa State.
Truly, we can get as many people out of poverty and into, lucrative trading as possible.
Senate passes bill to amend Firearms Act as House condemns recent Boko Haram attack on military formation in Borno.
Care for new lawyers in focus as another batch of more than 4,000 new wigs admitted into the legal profession.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on getting Nigeria working again.
Yesterday, we began a series of discussion on the 2019 campaign documents of various political parties participating in the forthcoming general elections.
That's correct, Joy. In fact, you and I were on set, and the series began with the policy document of the APC presidential candidate, and that document is entitled The Next Level, during which, of course, we assembled key players of the governing party to further enlighten Nigerians and indeed the electorate on the contents of the next level.
Now, in continuation of this series, we equally have put together a team of stakeholders from the main opposition party's presidential campaign team, that is the People's Democratic Party.
Now, the presidential candidate of the PDP also flagged off his 2019 electioneering campaign 10 days ago with the presentation of his vision for the Nigerian people and, of course, his action plan to realize the vision. And all of that is encapsulated in a document entitled The People's Policy.
That's right, Kingsley. And the policy is anchored on getting Nigeria working again, with a focus on creating jobs, ensuring security, growing business, developing power and water infrastructure, agriculture and education, in addition to women empowerment.
So, what is the People's Policy all about, in addition to what Joy has just itemized? Now, what makes the policy different from the previous PDP government's policies in the past? And how does the PDP plan to achieve this policy? It's on that note we would like to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria. Joy, as we said yesterday, we took on the APC. Today we are taking on the PDP. And, of course, we'll also have other political parties in due course. That's right. My name is Kingsley Osadolo. And this is Good Morning Nigeria. We are reaching you, as always, live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're right here at the Abuja headquarters studios.
And I am Joy Usiag, also welcoming you to the program. As always, we shall serve you the complimentary segments of the program, including newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, and entertainment news. What's first? Stella Inamite, our colleague, is ready to serve us the morning news. Hello, Stella.
Hello, Joy and Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria. Here is the news. Thousands of people of Dutse in Jigawa State trooped out to welcome Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who was in the state to launch the Trader Money Initiative, one of the social investment programs of the federal government.
Mr. President, as you all know, has always been concerned about the common man. Mr. President's sole concern is that the resources of our country must be used for the man and woman who need it the most.
Meanwhile, the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, has launched the Jigawa State Agricultural Empowerment Program aimed at engaging more than 130,000 youths on various farming initiatives.
It really is important for us from the point of view of building up these bottom of the pyramid traders so that, truly we can get as many people out of poverty and into, lucrative trading as possible. So that's what this is about.
My business will close. I really thank God. For me, if you enter again, you go do more better than this one we will get now.
Improved infrastructure and enabling business environment are some of the burning issues addressed at the two-day Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit in Abuja. Chimobi Walter Naji reports that the summit attracted Nigerians in diaspora and some investment enthusiasts.
To find out first how to get land, to also find out what the local community needs.
If you're interested in agri, this is the time to come home and do it. This government has made it a top priority.
In order to curb the dangers of proliferation of firearms in Nigeria, the Senate has passed the bill for an act to amend the Firearms Act, which seeks, among other issues, to increase fine for illegal possession of firearms from 100,000 naira to 1 million naira.
The amendment sought, 27(1)(c), is to amend the infractions related to the muzzle loading firearms.
I think this has to do with firearms that is brought into the country through ports that are not specified, through licenses that were not issued and all that.
I think this is our major contribution in rolling back this development to ensure that our country is safe.
The House of Representatives is advocating sustaining the gains recorded in the ongoing war against insurgency through intelligence sharing and collaboration with civil communities to access vital information. This followed the adoption of a motion by Deputy Minority Leader Chukwuma Unyama on the recent attack of military units around the Lake Chad.
Not fewer than 118 Nigerian soldiers of the 157 Battalion were massacred by Boko Haram insurgents, who now call themselves Islamic State of West Africa.
Right now, what we have is a Boko Haram that is no more a ragtag regional army.
So our thought and prayers obviously go to the families of the fallen heroes and indeed all the nation.
Election financing must be carried out with the limits provided in the Election Act of 2010 as amended. This was the fallout of an interaction between political parties and observers.
The requirement in the law is for political parties to report their expenses, their campaign expenses 6 months after an election, and they're also to report their income and sources of the income 3 months after an election.
Money in politics is something that should be condemned. It's something that we must stand against. It's something that we must be able to work together collectively as 91 registered political parties.
Another batch of more than 4,000 new lawyers have been admitted into the legal profession in Nigeria, with leaders of the profession calling for more care for new entrants into the legal profession.
It must be pointed out that the plight of young lawyers, particularly in terms of welfare and remuneration, has become a matter of serious concern.
With my own focus, I make sure that what I believe in, I must definitely achieve it. So
hopefully, I hope to use this court bar certificate, to achieve justice in Nigeria and to fight human rights abuses.
Participants at the 71st General Assembly of the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BON, seem prepared to raise the bar in broadcast media practice to retain the position of dominance in setting the agenda for information sharing and national discourse. Director General of NTA, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, and other broadcast chief executives advanced the position on the sidelines of the 71st BON Annual General Meeting.
To remain relevant, and for us to remain relevant, we have to move with the times, and moving with the times entails digitization.
Whatever technology is available, I think if you produce excellent content, that will still make you relevant within the market.
Who should be the one who wakes up in the morning, look at the mood of the country, look at what government is doing, and set the agenda, and put out what we should talk.
And that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Joy and Kingsley after this break.
Thanks for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. National Bureau of Statistics publishes internally generated revenue at state level for the first half of 2018. Let's join Kunle Adeyeye for details of these and other stories on Business News.
The internally generated revenue figure in the states and the Federal Capital Territory in the 6 months under review hit 579.4 billion naira compared to 453.83 billion naira generated in the corresponding half of 2017. This figure represents a growth of 27.7% year-on-year. 28 states were able to record growth in their internally generated revenue, while 8 states of Abia, Anambra, Benue, Taraba, Kogi, Kwara, Ebonyi, Enugu recorded decline in the period under review. The net federal account allocation in the first half of year 2018 is put at 1.23 trillion naira, while the total revenue available to state is put at 1.74 trillion naira. The report also revealed that the value of foreign debt stood at $4.22 billion, while domestic debt hit 3.38 trillion naira at the end of the first half of the year. In another development, a Nigerian in diaspora who has invested in the country, Festus Uzoma Mbisiogu, has appealed to the federal government to give more incentives to investors in the power sector in the country. According to him, the contributions of Nigerians in diaspora to the economic development of the country is on course.
We in diaspora need to contribute to our national development and start sourcing for investors on power, investors on agriculture, investors on industry.
And next is the graphic representation of Tuesday's tradings on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
All right, Kunle Adeyeye, thank you very much for the business news on Good Morning Nigeria. Our newspaper review segment is next on the program.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoribi, is in the studio. Good morning, Bayo. Welcome.
Good morning, Joy. Good morning, Kinsley. Good morning, Nigeria. I'm sure you watched the penalty holding your breath yesterday.
Yeah, I was just going to kick off with that by asking you how it all went, because I'm sure that you were on the edge of your seats.
Yes, I was. 4-2, and it was comforting. The Super Falcons will smile home. Every of their the 4 kicks will earn them at least $4,000 each.
Well, that's a penalty shootout. I thought it would have been a goal during regulation time or even extra time that you will get that kind of money. Let me not pour cold water on their victory so that they would not say that, oh, they did not listen to Kingsley and Joy when they were discussing on Good Morning Nigeria to tell them, why would you give them $4,000 for scoring the penalty shootout?
A win is a win.
A win is a win, that's right.
And therefore their bonus has to be paid.
Yeah, well, that's the deserving of a place in the final indeed in the Women's World Cup that is coming up later.
France 2019.
All right. Joe, let's begin with you.
All right, let's start by taking a look at the front page of the Punch newspaper. The lead story there is violence at Akwa Ibom Assembly, and it comes with 3 kickers, riders. Governor foils plot to impeach him. Speaker leads PDP youths to dislodge 5 APC lawmakers. Angry youths burn APC supporters' car. Emmanuel, Assembly want CP removed. And you can see the picture there of a vehicle destroyed by angry youths at the Akwa Ibom State Assembly. Now let's look at other stories. A little bit above the nameplate. Leave my office, we're in darkness. Obaseki tells BEDC boss, that is the managing director of the electricity, of the Benin Electricity Company. States generated 579.5 billion naira in 6 months, says NBS. That's the National Bureau of Statistics. Poor agricultural productivity, population growth worrisome. That comment is attributed to Obasanjo. You can see details on page 25. And let's go to the foot of the front page of the Punch. Senate suspends confirmation of EFCC secretary. I killed my girlfriend for dating my brother. That comment is attributed to the suspect. Plateau man to die by hanging for beating mother to death. And customs officers gunned down policeman's wife in Lagos.
Okay, let's also take a look at the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper. We'll begin from the bottom half of the front page of the paper and then proceed upwards to the earpiece beside the nameplate. Now, you have a number of headlines right there at the foot of the front page. One of the stories that Joy read earlier from the Punch newspaper is also the Obaseki, that's Edo State Governor, walks out BEDC MD over outage. Details can be found on page 39. I'm reading from the Daily Sun newspaper. Obaseki walks out BEDC's Benin Electricity Distribution Company Managing Director over outage. Now, Wike alleges rigging plot in Rivers and Akwa Ibom with two riders, says federal government wants to use security agents to disrupt elections. APC calls it infantile allegation. That's page 11. Kalu thanks all, affirms faith in judiciary, page 6. Oshun, that's the kicker. Oyetola in, Aregbesola out. New governor takes oath of office, promises 30,000 jobs. That can be found on page 40. Now, the lead story for the paper comes with a kicker as whistleblower policy yields dividends. Federal government rakes in $53 million, 122,890 pounds, and 527 billion naira. Says money recovered from top individuals, including military officers. That story is in greater detail on page 3. The earpiece beside the nameplate says Senate stops new tax regime, asks federal government to halt implementation of tariff on alcoholic beverages and tobacco. That's page 10. Bayo.
Well, Alhaji Isiaka Boyega Oyetola has been sworn in as the 5th democratically elected governor of Osun State. The oath was administered on him by Justice Olubunmi Adeleke Ojo at the Township Stadium in Osogbo. Earlier sworn in was the Deputy Governor, Benedict Boyega Alabi. The rule of the two Boyegas ensued from the election of September 22nd and the rerun of September 22nd and 27th. Boyega Oyetola has scored 255,555 votes to beat Senator Ademola Adeleke, who scored 255,023 votes. The margin was actually 482. President Muhammad Buhari was represented at the occasion by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. All Progressive Congress national leaders joined the outgone governor, Governor Aregbesola, in the swearing-in. Governor Oyetola pledged to commitment to progress and welfare of the people of Osun State. He's already promised 30,000 jobs and regular payment of salaries. He also predicated some of his promise on the progressive legacies that has been built in the state. The foundation, he says, was laid by Awolowo, Tinubu, Akande, and Aregbesola, and he promised to follow in that path. The People's Democratic Party, who are already in court, describe him as an interim governor. He is the 5th governor coming in after Isiaka Adeleke, who was governor between 91 to 93 on the platform of SDP. Chief BC Akande was governor between 99 and 2003 on the AD, while Olagunsoye Oyinlola was governor 2003 to 2007, the People's Democratic Party. Actually, the outgone governor, Aregbesola, was elected on the platform of the Action Congress of Nigeria. So Oyetola is the first elected on the platform of the All Progressive Congress. You will recall that his tenure, the tenure of the outgone governor, he came in as All Progressive Congress, but the Alliance for APC made him an APC governor. This other story of concern is from Akwa Ibom. There's been a disruption at the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly. Yesterday, Governor Udom Emmanuel called the press conference and called upon President Muhammadu Buhari to intervene in the Akwa Ibom State crisis to ensure that there is peace. He said the court had ordered the Speaker to declare the seat of a member vacant, and the Speaker complied to the rule of law by also declaring 4 other members' seats vacant for having decamped. And he says that angry youths had stormed the assembly to protest the sack of the lawmakers. The sacked lawmakers, in turn, sacked the speaker and elected one of them as interim speaker. Police sealed up the legislature, and the National Assembly advised the police to withdraw. And the police withdrew. And then the 5 legislators gathered in a move that was supposedly to impeach Governor Udom Emmanuel. Governor Udom Emmanuel, having heard of it, went to the sitting of the 5 legislators. Youths in support of the PDP had gathered there, and on citing Udom Emmanuel started chanting 8 years, 8 years. The interim speaker narrowly escaped being mobbed. His vehicle was said to have been destroyed. The governor is lamenting that the police he helped to equip is fighting the state. He has called on the president and that the commissioner of police should be deployed. The commissioner of police, according to the News Agency of Nigeria, was deployed to the state on 23rd of November. So all is not at peace in Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly. And the same thing is playing out in Anambra and also Ondo State. In all the 3 states House of Assembly, external forces, youths, thugs, have been brought in to intervene in the faction and the fight between factions within the legislature.
Well, Bayo, it must be a matter for serious concern that
yes.
Apparently the legislature, especially at the subnational level, hasn't matured significantly in more than 19 years of the Fourth Republic. We have seen time and again the behavior of some of the lawmakers, especially when they want to change their members of the Principal Officers Council. Yes, that's to say the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Leader, Minority Leader, and so on and so forth. And there's always some measure of violence that accompanies all of that, and disruption of legislative activity. And then, worse still, you find them proceeding with the wrong-headed approach of seeking to purport, rather, to impeach a governor when you do not have the appropriate quorum in place. I mean, there are judicial authorities to buttress that. You saw what happened in the case of Peter Obi. Yes. You also saw what happened in the case of Joshua Dariye of Plateau and several others.
And
so why embark on that kind of wrong-headed approach?
Yes. In all the 3 instances, you can't expurgate the suspicion that the state governors are involved. So it's a tussle between the legislators within themselves and apparent involvement of the state governor. It happened in Akwa Ibom, it's the same thing in Anambra, and it's the same thing in Ondo State. In all instances, the legislators are alleging that there is involvement of the state governor in the affairs.
And it's fast becoming a culture. It's a way to go for most of the legislators. I think this is something that needs to be checked. Yes.
In Anambra is the Abga. In Cross River is the PDP that's in power. In Ondo, it is APC.
No, in Akwa Ibom. Akwa Ibom is where you're having the flare-up. Yes. Akwa Ibom, you said Cross River.
Akwa Ibom, sorry. Okay.
Yes, all right, Bayo. Well, there's the other story about the Edo State Governor walking out the Managing Director of BEDC. For our viewers in the 4 states that under the authority of the DISCO, I hope they've been able to have alternative sources of power to be watching Good Morning Nigeria for the past 3 months.
Can you imagine people staying in darkness for 3 good months?
3 months.
It's shocking to hear that for about 3 months,
horrible.
parts of the area covered by the Edo Electricity Distribution Company don't have power. And that is why I cannot blame the governor when he got so angry and walked out to the managing director. Why are you coming to my office when the whole of my state is in darkness?
It's not just Delta is affected, and I think parts of Ekiti are also affected. And this is not just, this is perhaps what has brought the matter to a head. It's been a consistent pattern over the past couple of years that the BEDC hasn't been able to distribute power efficiently. When we have discussed on Good Morning Nigeria the issue of the performance of the DISCOs, one of the major challenges that customers have faced in that area covered by the BEDC is the fact that BEDC, when it's supposed to accept power from TCN, rejects power. Rejects power. So I don't know. I think this is a matter that's of serious concern, so that we'll continue to get our viewers in that axis bio, especially. So all right. Yes. Let's continue with our other headlines,
yes.
Joy. Yes.
All right, let's go to the front page of the Daily Asset for stories there. The lead story, Reps probe Metele attack. $1 billion arms procurement, demand release of dead soldiers' names, committee to look into soldiers' operational lapses. And below the picture there, don't see 2019 elections as war. Buhari tells politicians, congratulates Oyetola. And for a special report now, experts warn as meningitis season kicks in. You can get details of that story on page 22.
All right, Joy, let me take the Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust newspaper says, my son-in-law will contest in another party, Okorocha says. Details can be found on page 13. My son-in-law will contest in another party, Okorocha says. That's page 13. Boko Haram, Buhari visits Maiduguri today, cancels Daura trip. Page 3. And the list story says, low oil price threatens Nigeria's budget and revenue. No cause for alarm, says the federal government, and what government should do. Experts are proffering their opinions there. And right at the foot of the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, illegal arms bearers and importers risk 1 million naira fine. That's on account of the amendment to the Firearms Act. And why Nigerian products are rejected abroad, and chaos at Akwa Ibom House of Assembly. Bayo has already discussed that.
Now, before we go to our editorial for the day, let's take a few stories below the picture story on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Below the picture story, workers petition Assembly over Fayoshe's 264 million naira largesse to labor leaders. You get details on page 42. EFCC has frozen my accounts. I can't feed my family, says Metu. Sex for marks, ex-OAU lecturer chanted incantation to derail trial, says prosecutor. Now let's go to our editorial for the day, which is taken from the Punch newspaper.
But it's an accountant, so what
yes,
is
the incantation did not work because he was committed to prison, because he was seeking bail, and the court was informed that actually when he was invited before the ICPC, he gave indication that he wanted to travel abroad for medical treatment, and upon return he will come back. And because he didn't come, they didn't believe that if he was granted bail, he will make himself available. And so his incantation did not work, and he was returned to the prison.
All right.
Until sometime next
month. Yes,
until
Monday.
All right, let's go to our editorial from the day. And it's taken from the Punch newspaper. It's captioned, keep military strictly out of politics. The country's most senior generals stumbled into an avoidable political storm recently by appearing at the public launch of President Muhammadu Buhari's 2019 re-election bid. Reactions to media photographs of the military service chiefs were fast and furious. The presence of the chiefs of defense staff, Air Force and Navy at the partisan jamboree rightly drew the opposition parties and candidates and sent danger signals to Nigerians. For democracy to thrive in Nigeria, there must be an attitudinal change by career public servants and the heads of security agencies. Yes, they must be loyal to the commander-in-chief in the performance of their lawful duties, but loyalty to the country must triumph when the two collide. Olani, Shakin, Sadiq and Ibas would have lost nothing if they had pointed out the inappropriateness of their invitations to the event. Such principled conduct is the standard in matured democracies.
Yes, before I go to the editorial, let me quickly draw attention to this human interest story. A man was heard singing praises beneath the rubble of the 7-story building that collapsed in Port Harcourt. Rescuers heard his voice faintly and they quickly tried to get at him. They succeeded in rescuing him alive. However, 2 other persons that were brought out from the same area were dead. He was actually trapped near a hole and he was virtually not affected. He had been taken to hospital for medical attention. The 7-story building collapsed on Friday at about 4:30 p.m. Meanwhile, the editorial is again happened on a story that was following the reaction of the lead minority party that service chiefs should not be involved in politics. However, the presidency had also denied that the service chiefs were not part of the launching of the next level that was launched at the State House the other day. And the Minister of Finance had actually advised the service chief that this was a political gathering and they should leave. So, but the essence of the editorial is well taken in. The editorial is saying that public servant and service chief should be shielded from partisanship, which is quite instructive. The editorial says that the police, the Department of Six, and the Economic and Financial Commission have all been seen to have intrusions into partisan politics, which is not good for their schedule of duties. It will be recalled that in 2006, it was a serious discomfiture for Professor Dora Akunyele, who was then the Director General of NAFDAC, and he was dragged onto political rostrum to come and go along on the campaign trail of the then ruling party. That was the beginning of public servants being dragged into campaign, and it is not good for the neutrality of the public service.
All right. Bayo Toyobe, that's very well said. We'd like to thank you for being with us today.
Thank you too.
I hope you enjoy your midweek and be back with us tomorrow. All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, of course, we'll be dealing with the policy document of the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. Yesterday, it was the turn of the APC.
Thanks for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. Now, let's start by taking a look at Timothy Yusuf's report to kickstart our discussion.
The former Vice President and PDP's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar's policy document is basically centered on three key task areas of job creation, restructuring the polity, and getting Nigeria working. He says if elected, he will be proactive in attracting investments and supporting the 50 million small and medium-scale enterprises across Nigeria for the purpose of doubling the size of the country's GDP. This investment, he adds, will create a minimum of 2.5 million jobs annually.
When I was Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, from 1999 to 2007, I chaired the National Economic Council. That gave Nigeria her highest and most consistent GDP growth of over 6% per annum. Despite the fact that crude oil prices at that time were much lower than they are today. Under the dynamic leadership of President Obasanjo, we paid off Nigeria's entire foreign debt. We also introduced the GSM revolution that saw Nigeria go from 100,000 phone lines to over 100 million today. We were able to achieve this and much more because we had a plan called the National Economic Empowerment and Development Strategy. That plan worked. And today I have the pleasure of unveiling our policies and strategies, not promises, to take Nigeria from where she is right now to where she needs to be.
All right, let's now bring in the four guests who are joining us this morning for the conversation. First, we'd like to welcome Dr. Oluwole Akinwumi. Dr. Akinwumi is head of Article Policy Statement. Dr. Akinwumi, a pleasure to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, and thank you.
All right. Also here with us on the studios is Mohammed Bello. Mohammed Bello is a special assistant on policy and strategy to the presidential candidate of the PDP. Mohammed Bello, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Okay. And Joy, we have two other guests.
Yes.
Okay. Ugo Nwoko is a senior media aide to Atiku Abubakar. Ugo Nwoko, pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Good morning.
And last but not the least, I would like to welcome the director in charge of delegates mobilization and management of the Atiku campaign organization, Dr. Baraka Sani. Dr. Baraka Sani, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All right, Joy.
All right, let's start by talking to Dr. Oluwole Akinwumi, who is head of Atiku Policy Secretariat. We're looking at 2019, it's here, and they've rolled out the campaign drums. Let's look at the policy document of the People's Democratic Party. What exactly is the crux of this document, and what informed the launch on Facebook?
One, the policy basically is all about jobs.
JOBS. J stands up for jobs creation. O for opportunities for all Nigerians, irrespective of who they are, whether they are disabled or able, man or woman, to give them opportunity to have a stake in this country, because quite a lot of them has been taken out of our economic system. And thirdly, B is being united. I am sure every one of us here knows quite well that this country has never been where it is now any time in the history of our country, because I don't want to start mentioning or listing some of the problems we face in this country. And the last one is security, very important. So that is the pillar upon which Article policy stand, those 4 areas: jobs, job creation, opportunities for Nigerians, being united, and securing our nation.
Now, I know that the campaign was launched on Facebook. What informed that decision?
We are now in a generation where, you have to key into what happens in society. We don't live in the 30s or even we don't live in 2015 now. This is 2018. That is the trend. And Article, for instance, is somebody who loves to move with a trend, to introduce new things, to bring in semblance and opportunities, and get on with time. And that is why, most of our young ones, if you look at the policy itself, there is a big chunk on youth empowerment and women empowerment and the rest of it. And if we are going to address this cohort of our nation, then there is a need to actually use the medium that that they are conversant with. So using Facebook and other media to preach the gospel of our Article is not something that is a misnomer. I think that's just the ideal thing to do.
All right, Dr. Akinwumi, thank you very much. We'll come back to you. Mohammed Bello, you're Special Assistant on Policy and Strategy. Now, let's have a clear understanding of what label, labels often do not matter. We'll get down into the contents later. But what exactly is the label used to properly identify the candidate of the PDP? Dr. Akinwumi is saying jobs. Earlier, we were hearing of getting Nigeria working again. We also heard about the People's Document. So exactly what is which?
I think they're the same thing. I think fundamentally, when you're talking about jobs, you're talking about getting Nigeria working again. You can't have one without the other. We exist in a society right now where I think for the first time we now have more poor people than India. Despite the vast population in India, recently Nigeria has more poor people than India. So Atiku Abubakar is focused on that. Jobs, getting Nigeria working again, and ensuring that all the young people that continuously enter the Nigerian economy have a stake in the economy and can contribute to that economy. So, like you said, we're not focused on the labels. Whatever Nigerians like, they can choose. But fundamentally, it's about jobs, and those jobs will get Nigeria working again.
And Ugo, Jim Ugo, from the media perspective, my colleague Joy asked the question: why go online to launch this rather than having, if you like, a physical media blitz?
It's simple. It tells you the personality of the man, Atiku Abubakar. He's a man that is digital in character. He, as my colleague Dr. Akinwumi said, he moves with a trend. And what is a trend? The trend today is that we live in a global society, an environment where just at the top of your fingers, you reach every part of the world. Now, Nigeria and getting Nigeria working again, the jobs that need to be created are for Nigerians, and they're going to be created within the contents of the global system. So we'll be talking about foreign direct investments. You'll be talking about Nigerians who are in the diaspora. You'll be talking about the youth. You'll be talking about women, the able-bodied men, and so on. So when Atiku launched the policy document on Facebook, it was to move with a trend, to reach every part of the world, to make sure that no one is left behind, to also ensure that it is easier for people to access. Because if you just do the old things, it will not work. It is important that we understand that the impact of technology, social media on our world. So this is no longer a time where you bring 1950 ideas to come and implement in Nigeria in 2018. So launching it on Facebook is symbolic in several ways. It also tells you, first of all, one, that Atiku is going to be a digital president, a president that will be in tune with the realities of our world today, a president that will be in tune with the needs of the youth, the needs of the younger generation, a president that is looking forward, not backward, a president that is going to create jobs using the ICT sector, a president that is going to make sure that the creative energies of Nigerian people are unleashed, a president that is going to make sure that the international community will respect Nigeria. Nigeria is the largest black nation in the world, so whatever happens in Nigeria affects the world too, both Nigerians in diaspora, Nigerians at home, and so on. So how else can you sell this gospel other than to use a medium that will be able to impact on the world? Let the world know that a new thing is happening in Nigeria, a new thing is coming. Atiku Abubakar is a new thing.
Okay, so what about, it's good, but what about those who are yet to catch up with ICT and the older generation? Are you thinking about them?
Yes. This is the first phase of the unveiling of the document. There will be the next unveiling, which people are used to. That is the physical document. Now, at that point, the print media, the informal medium of communication will be deployed. The campaign is about starting. Our people at the rural areas are going to be reached using the medium that we can use to get to them. The campaign structure is in such a form that from the national level up to the unit level of voting, or the local government, the ward level, we have people at different levels to make sure that this message gets to the people of the grassroots. It's going to be translated into several Nigerian languages so that no one is left behind, because the business of getting Nigeria working again is a business of all, not a business of Atiku Abubakar alone. So it is important that through the social media, the whole world has been reached. We're going to move the next step using the local and the normal medium of communication to reach the people at the grassroots. Like I said, it's going to be in several Nigerian languages. Our people are going to sell these messages to the people in the language they will understand. So this is just a first phase of the unveiling of the document. And what we are doing here is also a process of getting the people you are talking about, get to know about this document and the good it has to offer them.
All right, thank you very much, Ugo, for your statement. Let's bring in now Dr. Barak Hassani. Dr. Barak Hassani, again, taking off from the acronym of JOBS, as articulated by Dr. Akinwumi, Nigerians are going to ask themselves, what is the difference between what you are proposing in JOBS and what is already on ground with a government that is proceeding and also talking about the next level?
Well, you see, the whole issue about the document, the difference is that for the first time, we've been able to clearly diagnose what is wrong with the country. When you look at it, we broke it into three parts: the underperformance, the structural fault line, and then the security issue. When you talk about the underperformance, it means Nigeria is not where it's supposed to be. The poverty is there, that just like my colleague has just said. We are living, over 80 million Nigerians are living below the poverty line. We have our life expectancy has dropped to about 55, age of 55. Then the structural fault line, that is the federal system is not working as it should. The center is, very strong, and the federating units are not having they are not playing the role they're supposed to play. Then the security issue, where, bothering, we are being disturbed by all this insurgency and so on. So the job of Atiku is to provide solutions, to give, the sense of direction, to provide a leadership that would, drive the solutions to these problems. That is why you are talking about him coming on board to provide, to bring about unity, bring back the federating units, based on consensus. And this brings me to the issue of this policy document. It is not a constitution. It is a document because if you remember, the principal has already said, that is Atiku Abubakar, he wants to run an inclusive government. That is why he brought this policy at this moment, so that there's enough time for Nigerians to participate, to key in. He wants Nigerians to own this policy. So it is not a constitution. Many people would see it differently. So for those who have other opinions or better solutions, he has given opportunity for Nigerians to come in and join him to provide solutions to the myriad of problems bedeviling this country. He has further said he does not, have the, exclusive right to knowledge. So he wants Nigerians to participate, and this is what we have been yearning for. This is why you see men trying to solve, women's problems. But this time around, he's giving it out to the stakeholders. So you look, you key in where you think you have a better option or opinion, or you have an advice, you do it. So the issue of Atiku providing jobs is just an acronym. It's not about just providing the jobs. It's solving the myriad of problems bedeviling the country and trying to propel Nigeria forward using all, avenues possible, from the area of better education, giving more useful education, that is, the education that is needed for now, looking at the problems that Nigeria is faced with, empowering women, empowering youth. Today, women have over 50% of Nigeria's population. Atiku Abubakar is coming to give us a sense of belonging. If you look at it previously, all that is said is that, okay, women, we are going to make sure you are involved. But this policy has gone further to tell you, this is the problem. This is how we intend to solve it. And this is the roadmap. Let me give you an example. With women, for instance, Nigeria is a signatory to so many, policies, like the CEDAW policy, the policy that's against violence. But many administrations have come and said, look, we want to domesticate it. But there has not been a push forward. This policy document has gone further to say that we want to domesticate CEDAW and other relevant policies by going to the extent of instituting maybe tribunals that will prosecute men who decide to abuse women for no fault of theirs, either sex, rape, either molestation, either discrimination in the place of work, either domestic violence, and all those related issues. So you see, it has told you specifically that we have tribunal in mind, which means fast, verdict, any offender that is caught would be dealt with, not this one that will take 20 years with no result. Secondly, we are talking about financial inclusion and political participation. This policy has gone further to tell you that it is going to try to reserve quotas, not only in political appointments, but even in corporate bodies, to give women a chance, to give youths a chance, including his pledge that he's going to give 40% of his positions, ministerial positions or appointments, relevant appointments to women and youth. So you see, this policy is, has come with a difference. It has given you definite programs or policies that, it wants to implement. So I think it is an opportunity for Nigerians to appreciate for the first time You know, it's just like we've been riding the plane without a map on the airport we want to land. This time around, Atiku Abubakar's policy document has told Nigerians that we are going to take off and we are going to land right in Aso Rock, and we are going to implement policies that would benefit, you know, the living, uplift the living standards of Nigerians.
All right, thank you,
What
Dr.
kind of
Baraka.
what kind of aircraft are you going to land at?
We will see.
Is it a jumbo jet, or because you only have a helipad?
That is the difference with Atiku. He will not tell you the aircraft because we are going to build it together with Nigerians.
All right.
Yes,
Dr. Baraka,
he wants Nigerians to come on.
You've touched on so many issues that we intend to look at in the course of the conversation. But right now, let me bring back Mohammed Bello into the conversation. Mohammed, you see, a lot of people are watching, and people are also watching what's happening with all the political parties. And some people will argue, they'll say to you that here we are talking about a party that was in government for 16 years. Now here we are again with the same people who were in the same government in the last 16 years that they were in power. What exactly are they going to do differently? What is the game-changing strategy? How do you intend to walk the talk?
I think the game-changing strategy this time is a belief in young people and a belief in the future. So what we've come together and put together in the policy document, separate from the original creation of the policy team, a youth policy team was put together to ask young people and say, let's compare Nigeria to other countries, whether in Europe, whether in the United States. There you see young people building wealth. And so we asked ourselves, how do we get young Nigerians to do the same thing? How do we get young Nigerians that can create, can innovate, to do that in the Nigerian economy? Because Nigeria has moved beyond being an oil economy. I think fundamentally, Atiku Abubakar understands that. We've now moved and we're now a knowledge economy. So if you look now, you have Nigerian companies. There's a company called Paga, a fintech company. They do like monetary transfers. They help Nigerians day to day. This company received a $10 million investment. If you go to the United States, you have companies like Amazon, you have companies like Facebook. They are larger than any oil company in the world. So this administration and Atiku Abubakar understand that while for a very long time we focused on oil, and Nigeria was an oil economy and we took pride in that, we should begin to take pride in our innovation and say our most valuable resource are the human beings in Nigeria, not the oil, and try to exploit, or better yet, to support those human beings and create value from those human beings. And I think that's the difference, that's the game changer, and that's why a lot of young people are excited to be part of that journey.
Mohammed Bello, thank you very much. Dr. Akinwumi, still on the question that my colleague Joy asked, with regard to the hangover effect of the 16 years that the PDP was in power until it was dislodged in 2015. Nigerians keep asking the question, so look, what is it that you're going to do differently, considering that Atiku Abubakar is running on the platform of the PDP, for which, on which platform he was vice president for 8 years?
Now, the first thing is that, for a start, an Atiku government is going to take the pains out of Nigerians.
How?
Pains. You know,
you have a new Panadol or something?
Within the last 3 years, 9 million people have been rendered unemployed. So by now, as we are sitting here, over 60 million Nigerians are unemployed. So for a start, the program that Atiku Abubakar is putting in place, we address that. Secondly, in terms of security, our country here has never been so unsecured. And I can tell you, there is no investor anywhere in the world that will go to an unstable environment and put their money there. As of 2011, over $8.9 billion dollar worth of investment came into this country through FDI. And why? Because the environment was enabling. But today, you know, the fact that, for instance, you want to hold a local government election or state election, and about, I don't know how many policemen you send there, it sends signals to other parts of the world that your country is not safe. The fact that you don't respect the rule of law sends signals to other parts of the world that you cannot be trusted. So I'm not going to come here and roll out. For instance, look at the many institutions that were put down by this administration, the 16 years that you are talking about. I'm glad when you show a clip there, our principal was talking about the fact that the communication industry, the number of jobs that have been created, the access that have been given to average Nigerians to be able to talk to their fellow Nigerians wherever they are or make contacts in terms of business, all those things. ICPC, EFCC, who brought those into to be? It was this 16 years of administration that brought it into be. And there are so many other things that came into this country through that administration. And Atiku Abubakar was central to some of these things that came to our country. And what he's trying to do is actually upscale all these things that have been achieved. You tell me in the past 3 years or 4 years to say, you tell me one thing that was started by this government. Nothing. Virtually everything they are talking about, the railway, all of those things, were put down by a PDP administration.
But Dr. Akinwumi, government is a continuum.
Yes, no. If you cannot eat your cake and have it at the same time, if you are blaming the past government that they are not doing, the little that they are doing, and these guys are continuing to do it, we need to recognize that. The moment we don't recognize that, we are not moving as a country. But I can assure you, in terms of security, in terms of empowering our people, the new economy, you go into the policy critically. You look at things like the new economy, financing infrastructure, and all the strategies that were put in place. It will change Nigeria will never be the same again. Because a country only works on the basis of an economy that functions properly. Our economy is not functioning. And, there are so many other things that we, as individuals, we can actually see in our country that is not working for us. And it has to change. And that is why Atiku Abubakar is coming with all these policies. Go through them. Dr. Baraka, my colleague, has mentioned some of these things. You know there is a structural fault lines in this country. Our economy, this system is not working. It's not working for individuals. It's not working for corporate bodies. Most of them, there are a lot of jobs that institutions have corporate bodies that were there by 2015. Most of them have closed down because the economy, the environment is stifling them, is killing them. So why are we going to, in fact, the 16 years is incomparable. Don't even let us go there. Because there is nothing that this government can flag out and say, this is what we have done. They've done virtually nothing, except jumping and landing in the same place.
All right, Dr. Akinwumi,
Yes.
we'll come back to you, but I would like Ugojim Nwoko to also respond to the charge by some observers, and indeed particularly some of the members of the governing party who say, listen, there is a hangover effect from 16 years of PDP. So returning to that hangover effect or to that era will be a disservice when they are already projecting a forward motion.
Okay, if you want to do an explicit comparative analysis between the 16 years of PDP, or let me say, since this government has been in power for 3 years, 6 months, or thereabout, or you call it 4 years, and then the 4 years of PDP, you will find out that the PDP did better than the APC.
Did you say 4 years?
I said, if you want to do an explicit comparative analysis between the PDP and the APC, the PDP stayed 16 years in power.
That's right.
Good. So, but I'm now trying to let you know that if this government should stay 16 years in power, perhaps we won't have Nigeria.
You think so?
Yes. You won't have Nigeria. Because by then, we would have gone into extinction out of hunger. Nothing will kill us other than hunger. There is great hunger in the land. Are you not aware? That is why,
some people will
let me land. I just want to let you know so that we don't pretend about these things. The PDP was in power for 16 years. Atiku Abubakar was vice president. There is no doubt about that. We're not running away from that. But I'm not telling you that, yes, if you compare the two political parties in government, you know that the PDP did better and will always do better. If you do it by comparing PDP first 4 years and this APC first 4 years, you will give PDP a higher mark, a pass mark. You won't give this APC a pass mark. If you leave this party, APC, to Muhammad Buhari to remain in power for 16 years, and I tell you, we will be taking the greatest risk of our lives as a nation and as a people. So the point is this.
What are the specific issues you want to isolate, say,
good.
in the first 4 years of PDP?
Good. The specific issues I want to isolate is that within the first 4 years of PDP, the telephone that was seen to be only for the rich became for all Nigerians. Within these first 4 years of APC, what can you identify them with? Within the first 4 years of the PDP, you saw there was institutionalized effort to fight corruption. The setting up of EFCC, the setting up of ICPC. Within the period of 8 years of PDP, you saw that there was a kind of a genuine effort towards standardizing our public financial system, our public finance management system. That's how you came about the Due Process Office, the Bureau for Public Procurement, to make sure that contracts are awarded following due process. There was nothing like that in Nigeria before. And it was an offshoot of a trip Atiku Abubakar as a vice president made to Brazil. That was what brought about the Fiscal Responsibility Bill into an act, which is not being implemented today. That agency, Fiscal Responsibility Commission, is still with an acting chairman up till now. And under the PDP, it wasn't under acting chairman. If you implement the provisions of Fiscal Responsibility Act, most of the corruptions that take place following our budgetary process will be eliminated. If you implement the Public Procurement Act properly, through the instrumentality of public procurement, Bureau of Public Procurement, you will see that majority of the corruption that takes place through the capital project implementation and whatever will be reduced highly. So if you look at the PDP administration, you saw that from what they inherited from the military, there were efforts, sustainable efforts, to institutionalize new governance structures in line with international best practices to lead Nigeria and move it forward. You could see that under the PDP years, Nigeria was making steady progress with challenges. Don't forget, we were coming out from the military and with its challenges. But after how many years of PDP, 16 years, it was expected that this government was supposed to now move based on the structures that have been put in place by the PDP 16 years. Whatever mistakes that were made by the PDP were not supposed to be repeated by the APC because...
You know, we have others here who would also contribute to this discussion.
Okay.
We'll move to them, but I would like to take you on a particular question before we move to our other guests.
Okay.
You know, we are presenters and we try to ask questions that people who are watching would love to ask.
Yes.
So that's where I'm going.
Okay.
You know, some people out there might argue that comparing the APC government's 3 years in office with the first 4 years or 3 years of the PDP may be a disservice to the APC, because they would ask you, what was the situation like when PDP took over, and what was the situation like when APC took over from PDP that was in government for 16 years?
Okay. When the PDP took over in 1999, Nigeria was a pariah nation. The world didn't want to hear about Nigeria. Most of the development partners you have in the country today were not in Nigeria. It was the first PDP 4 years that brought all these people back. Most of the Western embassies had closed, and for instance, Canada. The Canadian High Commission was not in Nigeria. They left during the Abuja years. They came back under the Obasanjo-Atiku presidency. During the Obasanjo-Atiku presidency, they opened Nigerian economy to the international community, and then you now saw foreign investments trickling in again. Under the military, it wasn't like that. During the military, which the PDP inherited, Nigeria's relationship with America, Britain, Canada, and all the countries that matter to our nation, we are not in good, Nigeria was not in good terms with those countries. So I'm trying to give you a background of what PDP inherited and what they were able to make out of it. Within that same period, the PDP, under the presidency of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo and the vice presidency of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the Nigeria's economy was reintegrated into the global economic system because Nigeria cannot exist in isolation. And during that period, you could see that more jobs were created. If not for anything, you could see that we could at least talk. Yeah. And then the ways of doing things in Nigeria changed. Nigeria was no longer under that siege mentality. The PDP inherited a siege, Nigeria that was under siege, a Nigeria that its economy was compressed. There was a kind of a ban on a recruitment in public service. It was the presidency of Obasanjo that opened up these things. Atiku Abubakar was part of that. It was that same administration that gave room for development partners to come into the country, invest in the social sectors. That was the time you started hearing about poverty alleviation. That's when you started hearing about investments in water and sanitation, maternal and child health. These were the efforts of that administration within the first 4 years.
All right, Jim Nwoko, thank you very much. Well, let's pause here in the meantime and go to other guests. Dr. Barak Asani, Dr. Akinwumi already spoke to this, and indeed it's something that you often also hear, you also hear and read about in the media, namely the accusation against the governing APC that, look, show us one project that you have started and that you have completed. Now, but the APC and its persons also respond to say one of the major challenges that Nigeria has faced over the years has been one of abandoned projects. And yesterday we had the APC officials who were here with us, well, President Buhari's persons who were here with us on the program. And part of the articulation of their response was, look, abandoned projects oftentimes were conduits of corruption. That it was easier to start a greenfield project because you abandon the other one and have new monies and then move on. You know, another person comes, you abandon the project and they move on. But that what they are doing right now is to take on those abandoned projects and bring them to fruition, and that Nigerians are beginning to see this. What's your reaction?
Well, I wouldn't want to totally agree with this accusation because the case of abandoned projects applies to, across all parties, not PDP, not APC. It applies and it depends on the individual that is, happens to be on the seat of power. Various, states initiate projects, but the problem is people want to have credit to themselves alone. In as much as this government wants to have credit, then they must give credit to PDP as well. We have done so many things. We have done so many things that the time frame that we started those things is not enough to finish them up. So in as much as they go about launching projects that they want Nigerians to give them credit to, they have to also acknowledge that it was initiated by PDP, it was envisaged by PDP, it was, commenced by PDP, and these projects are important projects that are helping with the development of infrastructure in the country. Let me give you an example. Like the airports, international airports that are recently been commissioned. You know, we commissioned some, but they were not completed because we had to go. You know, it's a tenured system. So when we go and APC wants to commission a project, the credit should as well be given to PDP, and then we will also give it back to them. You see, what I have come to realize is that politicians keep confusing Nigerians. And I think it is high time that we push away, you know, 90% politics and 10% governance. Let's turn it the other way. Maybe 10% politics and 90% governance, because we are not really being fair to the population in the country. We need to tell people the truth. You cannot throw away the baby along with the bathwater. For instance, when we left government, that was during Atiku Abubakar and Obasanjo tenure, Nigeria was able to pay up all their debts. That is why we found good people that came in from the diaspora. And it was Atiku Abubakar that facilitated most of these diaspora brains that came back to the country and helped us. If you look at it, that was why we started the MDGs, because we got this support. We wiped away all our, you know, debts, and we were able to use that money to develop Nigeria. But today, what is happening is there's so much debt on the country that we are paying over 80% of Nigeria's income servicing debts, because it's a direct line charge. And we are left with basically a minimal amount to be able to service other sectors. And that is why we see underperformance of the budget. Not because they don't want to do, but because there is no money to do it. So PDP has done so much that I think credit should be given. And where we have erred, you know, that is why the more reason Nigerians should go for Atiku Abubakar, because he has been there before. He's been in the private sector, he's been to the public sector, and he's able to, you know, see what is good and what can propel the country forward. And that is why he would be a better navigator, because now he's in the public sector. That's all we need. We want an economy that is resilient, an economy that can withstand all sorts of hardship, an economy that can be a player internationally, an economy that our Nigerians, you know, can buy into, and investors can come in and invest their money. Anywhere you see government shouldering responsibilities of investing for its citizens, you know, sole investor, it's a dangerous trend. When you open up your economy, when you make it strong, when you have the right navigator on the economy, investment will flow. And that is the only way we can grow. Public-private sector cooperation. As a woman, I want to tell you that today I will be happy voting for a president that wants to give me my rightful place, that wants to open up the potentials. You can't eat potentials. You have to be helped. You have to be given the favorable environment to develop your potential and use it. So as a woman, I want to be a Nigerian citizen that has equal opportunities, that today I can wake up and say, yes, I can become a governor, I can become I can become the chief of staff, I can become anything. The sky is my limit. And Atiku Abubakar is that kind of president. Let me give you an example. In the recently, he will be by the grace of God. Let me tell you, recently, you've seen my position. I'm the director for delegates mobilization and management. It was an office that was preserved for men. And because he believes in women and their ability and their potential, he wants us, you know, he gave me a space to show if I can perform. And I'm grateful that people supported me and we performed. This is the kind of government we want. A government that believes in all gender, that removes, you know, inequalities. A government that propels you to show your best. Nigeria is full of potentially intelligent people, but you cannot eat potential. That's why when you see our people in the diaspora, they are excellent. They are good consultants. But when they come here in Nigeria, they do not have the operating environment that is favorable. that is favorably disposed for them to bring out their best, Atiku Abubakar will allow that environment. He will include Nigerians. It is an all-inclusive government he wants to implement so that Nigerians can show their potential, translate that potential into reality, and get Nigeria working again.
All right, thank you, Dr. Barakat. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll continue our discussion with the group in the studio about PDP and getting Nigeria working again. And then you also get to hear what our viewers online are saying. Stay with us.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We still have all our guests with us in the studios, and they are discussing the policy document and program of intent of the candidate of the PDP. Once again, as a reminder, yesterday we had the APC, and after today going forward, we also hope to have candidates or representatives of those candidates of the other parties, as many of them as we can possibly take before the election. So let's return to our guests. Now, some of the issues that have been raised, obviously, I mean, if you look at the acronym that Dr. Akinwumi popped up at the beginning of this conversation, said jobs. And most of the matters there could be framed around the economy. What is in the policy document of getting Nigeria working again that relates to the new economy and financial structures? That's, of course, will lead us to whether or not this is a challenge to walk the talk, or whether it is realizable in terms of implementation. Let's go back to Mohammed Bello.
So in our policy document, what we've put together, financial inclusion, is to ask ourselves, what are most Nigerians lacking? Whether small to medium entrepreneurs, what do they need? A lot of times they need access to finance. We've looked at examples and said, we have banks in Nigeria, but a lot of them won't lend to average businesses. So we need to ask ourselves why. The banks are rational players. The reason why they won't lend is because they too look at the economy and they question the viability of many of these businesses. So we fully understand that if you improve the economy, you improve lending. We've also created isolated and targeted ideas that say, okay, venture capital is all over the world. Venture capital is investing in businesses. We've put together in our policy plan a small to medium enterprises venture capital fund and say the diaspora already remits money to Nigeria. How do we formalize that? How do we get the same diaspora via a diaspora bond, access all that capital, and then deploy that capital to businesses? So for us, we know people need financing. We know that the money is out there, and the money is already coming into Nigeria informally. So the question is, how do we structure that, and how do we ensure it gets to the right people? And then structurally, again, how do we improve the economy in such a way that even the banks will now be begging you, come and take a loan for your business. They look at your business, they see you're doing well, your banker all of a sudden cares about you. But that won't happen if nobody believes. That won't happen if we're continuously becoming poorer. It's only in an economy that is thriving, it's only when there's prosperity that that sort of financial inclusion that we all want can begin to happen.
Dr. Akinwumi.
Yes, no, there are ingenious steps that are to be taken, some of which my colleague is already highlighted. We believe that our youth actually is the greatest investment that we have, the greatest asset that we've got. And we can't deceive ourselves. Nigerian youths are one of the very best in the world. You know, one of the things we are going to do, if you look at the agriculture sector, for instance, there is something called NISA, which guarantees credit to the agri sector. One of the initiatives that Atiku government is trying to take is to mimic that in the private sector, in the informal, in the SME sector, so that they too can take credits and be guaranteed that that credit will be paid. Secondly, there are loads of people sitting on wealth, even in the rural areas. The land they've got is not titled. We want to encourage that so that people can get title to their land, which they can take as a certificate to a bank and be able to access credit. Because we believe that if we are able to do that, that will help a lot. And not that alone. We are thinking of an infrastructure development unit within the presidency, in which to say the private sector are going to partner with the government of an article in such a way that money will come in to support the infrastructure that we need. Because I can tell you, there is no nation that can grow at the back of poor infrastructure. Because every of the things that we are talking about, be it SMEs or large businesses, they thrive only when the infrastructure they need is present. And we have come to understand that there is no way a government can fund the infrastructural need of a nation. So we need to go out there and partner with the private sector, set up institutions like the IDF that we are talking about, the Infrastructure Development Finance, so that the private sector can come in and put pots of money inside that, which is the businesses in Nigeria can access. So all of this, and we are thinking of the fact that, Nigeria has bubbling youths. If India is a big outsourcing country in the world, what stops us? Nigerians can be a part of it as well. All that is needed, like Mohammed said, is to be able to put a structure there. So if there is a youth with an innovation that is ready to go and go out there into the world of business and make something out for himself, and in turn, for the country itself, we want to be in a position to support them, that the funds are there. Government doesn't need to get involved in this. The role of government is simply to provide the environment, the support. And that is why we look at the policy. One of the things we want to do is improving the business environment, which has been going down, be it in terms of our competitiveness in the world, it's gone down the drain.
Is it really going down?
Going down. In terms of HDI, look at all facets of indications of development. We are not doing very well. So Nigeria doesn't suddenly become, my sister, Nigeria doesn't suddenly become the capital of poverty in the world by accident. So,
all right, thank you very much, Dr. Akinwumi. Let's go quickly to Ugo. Yes, PPP is the way to go. All you need to do is create an enabling environment for business to thrive. Now, talking about PPP, I remember that privatization of the energy sector started with the PDP, and we're still having challenges along the way. What will PDP do differently to change that narrative if you get into governance?
Well, the point here now is that having been out of power for 4 years, the party and the people have learned lessons. And some of the challenges that were there before now have been discovered. For instance, if you look at the structure of the country, it's running like a unitary system. So now, under the Atiku Abubakar presidency, there will be restructuring where power will be devolved to the subnational units of the federation. So that if you're talking about PPP, it will no longer be a business of only federal government. The lower levels of governments, the states, we have a lot of roles to play in facilitating development. So there were no mistakes that were made in the privatization of the energy sector, because the energy sector in the economy were not really privatized, because this was a process that was started which were not completed, because the way the Obasanjo and Atiku Abubakar government started was not how it was continued, because of change of government and lack of continuity in the system. So I don't think that mistakes will be repeated. This time, lessons have been learned. There will be new ways of doing things. The country will be restructured. The lower levels of government, like the state governments, will have powers to also carry out infrastructural renewal, bring about development, resources will be devolved from the national level to the state levels to give more powers to the federating units so that they can address their peculiar problems by themselves.
All right, Ugo, thank you very much. We earlier indicated that there were tweets coming in from our viewers who have sent them in through our Twitter handle. You see that on screen at NTA GMN. That's bottom left-hand corner. Let's go through those tweets now and then return to the guests. This is from Ibrahim Ajir. How can Nigerians trust PDP with another mandate of leadership? And how can Nigerians believe that it is not going to be business as usual? The era of 16 years of misrule coupled with looting with impunity.
And the next one is coming from @first_Akin. He tweets, PDP policies set out in their Getting Nigeria Working Again document appears to concentrate on the economy. However, since our revenue base has decreased, I find Atiku's promises of creating 3 million jobs annually, making our tax rate the lowest in Africa, and other promises to be grandiose.
This is coming from Adeni Ayola. It says, Nigeria, good in theory, but when it comes to implementation, we get it wrong. And he asks, what will Atiku do differently compared to his role during the PDP reign?
And the next one is from Omakoji, and he tweets, get Nigeria working sounds sweet and elevating, no doubt. Nigeria has taken over poverty and depression from India. The question now is, what are the short-term plans of official PDP Nigeria to get out of this mess should they win?
That handle continues on Marco. It says, as it is today, so many companies have left Nigeria to Ghana for one reason or the other. Now, Nigerians would like to know how the PDP intends to create the enabling environment for these companies to come back. How are we sure it is not one of those promises as usual?
And Abdul 200 tweets, the issue of security doesn't seem to be important in getting Nigeria working again. Is Nigeria not working now? I hope we are not going to experience digitized corruption in the making Nigeria work again.
And still with Abdul, it says we must acknowledge the monumental successes the present administration has recorded considering the mess it inherited. Nigerians are wiser than before. We must know what Atiku wants to do differently from what he did when he was an active participant in the Obasanjo-Atiku administration.
Adele Mejabi tweets, I think the PDP learned faster from their previous mistakes from their abuse of power, rule of law, and lack of internal democracy with unimplemented policies. However, their blueprint will promote the formulation and implementation of policies that will guarantee single digit.
And this other tweet, of course, is coming from Dele Mejabi again. It says, but whether they will, that's the PDP, implement these policies when they regain power is a big question to be answered by all. Nigeria is already working with the present administration, and I guess there is no need to restart a car that is already working.
This one is coming from Shitu10, and he tweets, interesting. Atiku's plan is talking about security and unemployment. When in government, unemployment was double digits through his 8 years. Poor people increased from 65 million in 1999 to 85 million in 2017. Companies were sold and workers were not paid their entitlements. At PMB is now clearing their mess.
This is still also from Shitu. It says, how will Atiku campaign talk to Nitel, Nigeria Airways, DSC, that is Delta Steel Company, Ajaokuta, and several other pensioners that they sold their companies and then they refused to pay? Buhari is the one that is now clearing their debts and putting smiles on the faces of the people they abandoned for decades.
Rahim Sadiq Baba One tweets, getting Nigeria working again. What has been Atiku's contribution as a concerned citizen of Nigeria? Must you be in politics to get Nigeria working again?
And this is coming from Ambimba, Likita Ambimba. It says, talk is cheap. Action is needed on the part of the PDP. And another one from Ademola Taj says, why does the plan not involve how they will fight corruption?
This last one is coming from Olayemi 1304. If we want Nigeria to get working again, all the people of this country have work to do, and they must be ready to sacrifice for the betterment of Nigeria. All those who hold one political post or the other must be faithful, and there must be a check and balance in every sector. So those are the tweets we have for now. We'll read more to you as they come. Let's go quickly to Dr. Barakat. Let's hear your response to some of the tweets we just got from our online viewers.
Well, I'm glad that they're responding, and it's good to find out all these things. Like I said, this is the first time that we have a policy document, we have an operating manual, which means we have already brought out the programs and the ways we intend to achieve the policy statements. So it is for Nigerians to key in and tell us how they see them. That's why Atiku Abubakar is here to run an all-inclusive government if given the opportunity. He is carrying everybody along. So if you think some of the things that are in the policy need more, you add. If you think you have another option, you present it. And then if you have a superior argument, we look at it. Nigeria has to be for Nigerians. Nigeria is not for anybody. So the more we all get together and work together, the better. If you look at it now, patriotism has dropped to its lowest height. Today, nobody wants to fly the Nigerian flag in his office, in his car, in his business, because we do not even see ourselves as those proud Nigerians that we used to say we are soaring high, the eagle, and so on. It's because nobody is happy. So it is important that we look at these actions and see and compare and believe in them. And apart from that, looking at how we intend to make these policies work, Atiku has been there before. He has seen the mistakes we have committed. We are all human beings. We are all, we are not God. Only God does not err. But I also want to disabuse the mind of Nigerians who are made to believe that it is the mess that PDP has committed that this government is clearing. Who is PDP? Who is APC? 90% of the people that are in the other ship left this ship. There are some people that do not want to be orphans politically. So any government in power, they must follow. So if there is this attempt, I should have been seeing APC refusing tickets to PDP people who have left to join them. But there is not happening. They're even, brandishing all the names everywhere, being happy that PDP has joined them, which means we have something to offer. So if PDP has something to offer, if our former PDP members have something to offer, by jumping there, they are celebrating them. Just 2 days ago, I saw a big celebration, and every now and then. So it means we have something good to offer. And if we do have something good to offer, then we cannot eat our cake and have it. They cannot say the mess that PDP created in 16 years, and then they will be happy and clapping for PDP members joining them to give them a little bit of the knowledge that we have garnered, to give them the policies, to give them the good actions that they believe we have. We should be seeing them.
It's about numbers.
No, but if it is about numbers, it is the same thing. It is an irony. If you see nothing good in people who are in a party, PDP does not have a life. We are PDP, we that have lives, we the human beings. So if you say politics is numbers, you cannot say that PDP is not good, you are clearing the mess, yet you are taking all the hands that worked in the PDP to come and work for you. You are happy and you are celebrating them.
All right.
So the tweets, on the final note, what I would want to say is that Nigerians should open their eyes. There is no PDP, no APC. There are good people. Atiku is a good person. Atiku is a maverick. Atiku has come with the experience that he has gathered over time. He's a successful businessman. Whether we like it or not, if everybody behaves like Atiku, Nigeria would have been the better for it. Why? Because he has brought investments into the country. Today, American University is on Nigeria's soil because of Atiku. Today, Saudi German hospital is on Nigerian soil because of Atiku.
Now people are paying tuition fees.
Whatever they are doing, the issue is you have to start somewhere. There cannot be one thing for everybody. Everybody finds his classroom and he enters. You cannot be in class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4 at the same time.
Right.
He's a philanthropist.
Dr. Baraka, let's pause you in the meantime. Let's bring in again Dr. Akinwumi. Dr. Akinwumi, Dr. Baraka earlier referenced what she referred to as Nigeria's structural fault lines, to which the Atiku document responds by way of restructuring. But I'm sure you have also heard a comment that your principal and his notion of restructuring would appear to be fuzzy. What is it that is in the document of getting Nigeria working again that speaks directly to restructuring? What are the items?
Now, if you look at the section on restructuring, you cannot split restructuring from governance because it's just part of the same thing. And what we are looking at is that there are loads and loads of things that the federal government is doing at the present time, which is not their responsibility. In Europe, there is something they call the principle of subsidiarity. That is to say, you take things to where they are best done. There is no need, for instance, it's just like asking the federal government to be looking after primary school. For what? It's none of their business. There are things that federal government can do and do extremely well. Nobody is going to take that away from them. What we are saying is that there are issues in both the concurrent and the exclusive list that needs to be looked at. Whichever one we think is best done at the state level or local government level, let's pass them on to the local government level and the state level. And what happens is that resources that are concentrated at the center, then we flow with those things where they can be effectively done. For instance, health. Why will you have a federal ministry of, what's it called? Agric, for instance. You don't grow anything at the federal level. Most of these things are done at the state level. The role of the federal government should just be supervisory and regulatory. So these are the things we are talking about, like education. Some of the institutions that the government, that federal unity schools and the rest of that, why don't we pass them to the state? Because they are best looked at those state level. These are the sort of things that we are talking about. Because some of the issues of corruption that we talk about in Nigeria is because everybody sees the center as very juicy to come to. If you are given an appointment at the federal level, you think it's better than having a state appointment. So what Atiku is saying is that we look at the global, look at everything all together. Whichever one we think is best suited at the state level or local government level, it will be advised. It won't do it absolutely.
Sorry,
it has to go through.
Let me just bring in this point, because reference is made to the PDP in the government for 16 years. A PDP administration in 2014 had a national conference, and of course they made some 600 recommendations, some proposals. Is Atiku abandoning the 2014? Because the APC said, listen, we didn't believe in this, this wasn't part of our proposal, but we will do that which we are going to do. And incumbent vice president has spoken to the gradualism of the APC in restructuring. So is Atiku abandoning the 2014 political reform conference in terms of its outcomes?
One of the things I don't understand is what gradualism means when you talk about restructuring. Restructuring is restructuring. If a system is bad and it's not working, you go all out to look at it, look at what the faults are, and try to address them. There's nothing gradual about it. That's just simply a coinage, which I don't believe. And I believe the vice president has been challenged on many occasions on this issue of gradualism. But our policy is quite straightforward, and it's there for all to see. We want a transparent, accountable, a responsible government that knows what its boundaries are. The federal government cannot do everything. What the federal government can do is what we are going to do. What we think we cannot do properly, then the state and the local government will be left with that business to run it and run it very well. It works in other places, and we believe it can work in Nigeria as well.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Akinwumi. Time is not on our side. Let's go quickly to Mohammed. I want to touch on the agricultural sector. In the course of our conversation over the last 3 years here on Good Morning Nigeria, a lot of people have given credit to the current administration in terms of agriculture, how well they have performed. Now, if you come in, are you going to continue from where they stop, or are you going to take over? What do you have in this policy document that focuses on agriculture?
We have quite a lot that focuses on agriculture, and what we understand that this current administration fails to understand is going back to the farm as a young person with a hoe will not bring Nigerians out of poverty. We need large-scale, industrial, modern, technologically based agriculture. So while there are good things that are going on now, we commend NERSO, we commend the ability to have access to finance in the agricultural sector, we also need to understand that technology has a place in agriculture. Industrialization has a place in agriculture. So we as young people don't look forward and don't get excited when the government says, oh, go and farm. I believe the Minister of Health, it was recently, came out and said, oh, doctors that don't get positions should go back to the farm, as though, you know, we should go with hoes like this is 1930. But it's not. We know it has to be industrial, and it has to be commercial, and it has to bring about wealth. And to go back to another point about young people and our relationship to this government, you need to understand that we are tired of the blaming. The APC has been blaming. They've been blaming the PDP. It got to a point where they were blaming young people, said young people are lazy. But I think we've gotten to a point where we want to show how hardworking we are.
That comment was taken out of context, if you remember.
I think we understood what he meant. I think we were the target of the comment, and I think we now want to show how hardworking we are and how hard we can work to get Atiku Abubakar elected. That's where we stand, and that's our position.
All right, let's get Dr. Barakat's comment briefly, just briefly.
Well, I am sure Nigerians would attest to the fact that nobody gave agriculture a direction more than the PDP government. And as a result of that, today, Akinwumi Adesina is being celebrated across the globe. We gave agriculture direction. We developed the value chains. Even the rice revolution that they're talking about was initiated by PDP. And that is why PDP is the best party as far as agriculture is concerned. The value chains were developed by PDP. Nobody ever thought of value chain before. Agric as a business the concept was brought on board by the PDP government. And I'm telling you that Atiku Abubakar is going to build on these pillars. He was a key towards making Adesina the president of the African Development Bank because he believes in his agric, business acumen and knowledge. That's why he promoted him. And today he's the ADB president. Nigerians should give Atiku Abubakar a chance. Agriculture will shine better with PDP.
Dr. Baraka Sani, who is Director, Delegates Mobilization and Management of the Atiku campaign, would like to appreciate you for being part of Good Morning Nigeria today.
Thank you very much.
Our appreciation also to Mohammed Bello, who is Special Assistant on Policy and Strategy to the Atiku campaign organization. Mohammed Bello, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And our appreciation also to Ugo Jemowoko, who is a Senior Media Aide to Atiku Abubakar. And last but not the least, the head of the Atiku Policy Secretariat. Earlier on I said a policy statement. My apologies. Head of Atiku Policy Secretariat, Dr. Oluwole Akinwumi. Thanks a lot for being with us in Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So that does it for our conversation on the Good Morning Nigeria today. Let's go over now to our sports desk. All right, Joy, I think that's the much that we can take. We understand we have some issues with weather uplink.
So that's Good Morning Nigeria today. Join us tomorrow for another edition. Till then, I am Joy Useago, thanking you for staying with us.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Joy and also appreciating your being with us today. Do enjoy the rest of your day.